Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below the video. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, you can click the link on the info box below this video, but be sure to mute before you do so. Now, we are currently joined by Ranty Flat Earth, The Plain Truth, and Chocolate Satan. How are you all doing?
I don't know. That intro sounded not normal.
I just cut it short.
I was like following the script, and then it was just like speed bumps and potholes.
It's just because I'm slightly rushed. Ranty got us to watch a video just before we started, and that made me rush everything, and now I'm a little bit flustered, if I'm honest. But we started on time. That's the main thing.
All right. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. So, any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
How many times are you going to ask this today, Nathan?
Probably a few.
No, there is no curvature.
No curvature, but I'll be back.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope.
Nah. None of that.
Any evidence that you can have a gas pressure without a container for all the people who believe in outer space?
Nope.
Any evidence? Go on.
We have gremlins in the chat that seem to think that there is.
Gremlins?
Yeah.
Well, they can join.
That's it.
Tell us all about
the link's
it.
out.
So that's not a evidence of gas pressure without a container, then just somebody in the chat might have some. Well, feel free to join. Any evidence of the R value?
Arr.
Nope.
Well, I think Alan B wants to come in, but he's...
Hey, Sleeping Warrior. You're
Yo.
welcome to. Click the link on the info box. Say it every show. Anyway. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
Nope.
And last but not least, any evidence for self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Hey,
That last, what about R?
I asked for R.
Did you ask for R?
I did. That concludes the housekeeping. So what do you know?
What do I know?
I missed housekeeping.
You certainly did. I started on time, Arwin. Despite Ranty's best efforts to make sure we were late.
All right.
So, how was the pre-cum show, Armin?
It was great. Had a lot of fun.
Shout out to Vegan Guy.
No need,
Go on, Armin,
no
retract
need.
me.
Sleeping Warrior, you're an ass, bro.
Oh, Vegan Warrior. I thought you meant my early bird show.
No, I called it the pre-cum show. I saw Vegan Guy kicking you last night.
Man, he was...
That was a bit hard.
He was gushing like a 12-year-old. Man, it's really
a bit
embarrassing
harsh.
when you see an old man act like a 12-year-old like that.
He's looking for a wife, though, isn't he?
Yeah, good luck for that.
Showing his
Because he
dominant
said that
side.
Well, he says his skin. He's got no money. He can't really do much because he's a bit disabled or something. And anyway, but he's still looking for a wife. But
He sounds like a right catch.
He's disabled, really?
Yeah,
Disabled
What a
series?
catch.
Isn't that like a government kind of tag? Does that mean... What does that mean? He's disabled, but yet he is completely outside of society. How does he manage? That's interesting. Maybe he's just lying.
I'm
about a
not
lot
too
of things.
concerned.
Well, I thought he was a bit harsh for kicking you, to be honest.
I did too. I thought there was no need, but there we go. It's his bag. It's his.
Although
show,
I did
do
find the
likes.
pre-cum show funny. even though he did kick you.
You like that
No, it
phraseology?
was funny, but see, I was only being pretty rough with him in chat, and yeah, I was. But when I was actually on the panel, I wasn't doing that at all. I was really holding back, and he kicked me anyway, and then started yelling at me. It was ridiculous. Yeah, doesn't really hurt me, you know.
I'm just gonna go on mute a sec because I'm gonna rummage through one of my drawers looking for something. So I'm gonna be making lots of rustling noises. So I'll be back in a sec.
That's lovely. Thanks for keeping us up to date. That's really kind of you.
Too much information.
So, Ranty, what's your not the latest video that you just played me in the pre-show, but your latest video prior to that? Was it?
Oh, I don't even know which one that was.
Maybe you haven't released it yet. You were going through it with me. And
Oh,
Anthony.
the one. Oh, right, the one I've been working on. No, I've not quite finished it yet.
Oh, perfect.
So why?
Well, you can tell us all about it. Your current on the table, as hot as it gets project. Wow, tell us all about it.
Oh no, that's not going to be the same as releasing it and surprising everybody.
Nah, that doesn't work. You've got to tell people what you're going to tell them.
Yeah, but then nobody will watch it on my channel then.
What you're telling them, when you're telling them. Then you tell them. Then you tell them what you've told them.
Well, I've already told them. We showed it this week, didn't we?
I know. God, you're hard to lead, Ranty. You really are. Jesus, wept.
I'm just making it difficult for you, Nathan.
But if it was anybody else, I'd just do my normal tactic and pretend I don't know, pretend I'm dumb, pretend I haven't heard it before. But, you know, I thought you knew the score. Just tell us all about it, Ranty. Remind us, reiterate.
That there's no curve?
A bit less concise. Hi, Eric. How's it going?
Hey. Hola. Hey, guys. Morning, afternoon, whichever.
There really is no curve.
Well, you are right. I mean, I'm not going to criticise you for that. There is no curve, correct?
Oh, you're going to make me dig out the video now, aren't you? Hang on.
You've got buffering on your stream. There's nothing happening at this end. There's nothing dropping frames, and I've got a perfect connection, Donny Johnson. So just lower the resolution. I do stream at quite a high resolution in case we have any detailed pictures that we present. So for that reason,
Or just pay a little bit more for higher broadband, pauper.
yeah, just don't cheap out on your broadband. No, but seriously, just lower your resolution slightly. If it's still buffering, just lower it a bit more.
Well, essentially, I'm putting a script together for this video, aren't I, Nathan? We were talking about it yesterday, and we were talking about the Aries diffraction and stuff. So, yes, I shall be releasing this video because I've got the GPS data for it, so I know exactly where it was, and I know for a fact, absolutely 100%, that it hadn't. There's no horizon or no Earth curve, even in their model, before myself and the boat, when we're looking at this now. So it's a pretty cool video, because we should have a direct line of sight just to this boat, and yet we're getting all this Rayleigh's criterion that's happening in a very narrow viewing angle. And we have the inferior mirage that's blocking out the back of the boat as well, due to the narrow viewing angle, Nathan.
So it's 1.5 watt miles.
1.5. Oh, crikey! Now 1.57, I think.
A little over a mile and a half away. So well before any alleged Earth curve obstruction. When you beg the question.
Well, that's it. I think the horizon is at 1 point. Well, where they would say the start of the curve would be is like 1.62 miles away. So it's essentially, if you can argue the case, you would say it's on the horizon, but it's certainly not. There's certainly the horizon isn't before it.
ASX, how you doing?
Morning, good morning.
Morning.
So, so this inferior mirage that we see can no longer now be claimed that it is caused by Earth curve, because there's no Earth curve there. I've been saying it all year. This inferior mirage, whatever the cause of it is, you've been saying Rayleigh's criterion and the narrow viewing angle. You know, I can agree with that. I don't say it's always the case. I do think there is some kind of weather conditions that go along with the strength of the inferior mirage. But in any event, you know, this, when you see an inferior mirage now, you now know that you aren't actually looking at any horizon. They're not saying it's being miraged down on the surface of the water, because that isn't the case. The GPS puts this, and my observations should see this, and I should see the boat, and I should see all these tires falling down to the water here. I'll show you from the top. Can we zoom in? So here we have the boat. This is what I should see from down below. There should be no problem with any kind of blockage. The only blockage is the limit of the camera and the viewing angle. Those in this inferior mirage. So yeah, I'm putting a script together for this.
Absolutely awesome. I mean, it's like probably
Really
the
nice.
calmest ever waters you've ever had. I mean, this is not full zoom, but almost full zoom, I would imagine. And you can look, you can see there's no little white peaks to the water. And when you zoom out, you get a really good idea of just how flat and calm it is. Obviously, it's still moving to a certain extent. It's never going to be perfectly calm. It's not a lake.
Right. Oh, and if I may speak up a moment.
Yes,
can
go
also
ahead,
look
Arvin.
at the waves. Look, right, the waves, as soon as the reflection part starts, just look at the size of those waves compared to the boat and just see, again, how much closer those waves really are, scale-wise, angular size relating to the boat.
I mean, we're talking inches. The waves are... There's nothing to them.
But the waves right before the reflection part starts, look at the size of them and then compare to the size of that boat and just see how much closer that wave really is.
But to me, this also shows you that if there were higher waves, instead of, you know, millimeters or inches, whatever you want to claim they are, if they were in feet, they would obstruct the midpoint between you and what I'm going to say is the diffraction limit of the camera. This is why you always get this inferior mirage. It's very much in line with what the Rayleigh criterion describes, and it's always there if you don't have anything obscuring the midpoint. So with this being so close, it's akin to the people who did the angle of attack videos. You know, it's just a very long, flat surface to look across, and you've reached and breached the diffraction limit. It's too tight an angle to the bottom of this boat to see from lower down. You go up, you can see it all. You've got a wider angle. So to me, because, you know, I know Ranty's positioning this as if to say they would claim it's curve. No offence to Ranty, I'm long past that. I never thought it was. I'm interested to find out what's causing it. And as far as I can ascertain, it's always there if there's nothing blocking the midpoint at the lowest portion of whatever you look at distance. And that to me is exactly what the Rayleigh criterion describes. So what else can it be? Yes, I agree. Go ahead. Sorry.
What you've just said there, just that kind of resonated with me, because I estimated these tires to be around about 3 foot from top to bottom. And when you start to come down, you start seeing this effect around about probably 2 foot before it gets to the bottom. Because if you remember, if you look back at the top part of the video when we look into it, if that tire is about 3 foot, you would estimate that's about 3 foot down to the bottom. And you actually see this effect starting to take place on about the 4th one, which is about the height of the camera. So it's literally the same. It's about 20. I think the camera was 20 or 21 inches actually above sea level at the time.
Well,
so
it is and it isn't. So yeah, that's if you draw a line in an orthographic view between your camera and that, yeah, they're on the same plane. But in reality, obviously the boat's into the distance, so it's not the size it would be if you were next to it. Very basic stuff. It's got smaller into the distance, and the further it goes, the closer it gets to that limited angle. But in this instance, it's not the boat, or, you know, half the boat. It's just one tiny layer that ordinarily would probably be covered by waves in the midpoint. It's just you've got a beautifully calm day on the water, so much so that at this height you even get a reflection. You know, that's how calm the water is. You can literally, I don't know if you can circle it just so it's obvious, Ranty, but you're getting a reflection from this elevation on the calm water. You know, that's not diffraction limit. That is actually a reflection.
So
Very
give
cool.
it 2 days and I'll have the video out. But I did a flat Earth debate video on my other ranty channel with Arnold Schwarzenegger phoning in to ask about the housekeeping questions.
Yeah, good stuff. I played it on the pre-show, so that'll air after the second live debate ends over on Nathan Oakley channel. I did play it on the pre-show, so if you want to check it out, check out the first bit of the after show.
Schwarzenegger, like, did you like record him or somebody acting like Arnold? What the?
He just cut up snips of him. Cut up snips of him replying to the housekeeping questions.
He'll be back. It's like the rest.
Okay. Yeah.
You're
pretty good at impressions. I bet you can do a good Arnold Schwarzenegger, eh, Arwin?
It's not hard. You just have to put the cookie down.
No, not Arnold Schwarzenegger after a stroke.
Put that cookie down.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad.
Any proof of curvature, Arwin?
No.
Literally, he's having a stroke.
That's Arnold when he's
that's pretty much their answer.
It's not a tumor.
But that's Arnold when he's struggling, remember? He's always...
It's looming.
I'll be back. Oh. So where's Anthony anyway? I thought he had something to present today.
Said he was rustling through his drawer.
No, I found what I wanted now. It is about right. Where to start with this one? Alan B. He's chatting away in the background to me, right? And he said something on Skype that I'm going to just question the panel and just see what people think. He thinks that. Let me work back where it was. He thinks that I'm trying to convince myself that this show is going good, right? Rather than his perception that this show's dying because apparently nobody talks about it in Discord anymore. I'm all right with that. I quite enjoy the fact that the trolls stay away now. It's good. But nonetheless, I just said it's only heading in the direction that the evidence takes us. If there's evidence of a ball, then it'll be ball. But there is no evidence of a ball. And he says, I know you don't believe that. It's just a last grab at something before your youth is over. So I said, don't be silly. Do you think I actually enjoy this, Alan? He said, I think I like the attention. And I said, but I'd get the same attention if I was on your side battling the opposition, being you lot. And he says, no. And I says, how so? And he says, well, think about it. And I said, so you think that I would get a different kind of attention if I was on your side? I'm thinking, Alan, that I failed to see a comparison. And this is what he says that I'm going to ask you guys. According to Alan B, I like the attention of being special and against the odds. It's what I like. And when he says special, he means special needs. But nonetheless, that's his position. He thinks that I like the attention of being special and against the odds. And I said in response, I said, rubbish. I said, there is nothing special about being on my side of the fence. Nothing at all. So my question is, does anybody think that there is something special about being on our side of the fence? And if they do or don't, regardless, do you enjoy that attention that you get?
All the ladies.
Yes. Yes, I do. I know I have oppositional defiance disorder, and I think you have it too, but not as...
Hey, Daniel.
You just enjoy it. You don't...
Hey, Nathan. How's it going?
Yeah. But yeah, seriously, Riley, you do it constantly. I've heard nobody here in the debates as many times as you say, oh, well, you know what? If this turns out to be that, I'll be a Glober again. You're the only one that actually utters that on
That's true.
occasion.
That's
so
true.
yeah, you do like to be that one leg out. Yeah, you do.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you could give examples where, in your opinion, anybody's opinion, they think that this suits their position on this topic. But the point is, the question that I'm asking is, does anybody feel special about being on this side of the fence? Because I don't. I feel like a dick. But this is the side where the evidence is.
I think that's just you.
I'd agree. I was going to address a different part of it, but now you've said that statement, I'm where the evidence is. That the bit I was going to take umbrage with was the against the odds bit. And I'd say, well, you tell me an argument that we're losing on. You listen to the housekeeping questions daily. When I asked you to quantify your claim that you had no belief, Alan, I asked one of the housekeeping questions. And that was the end of that, right? Yeah, so not against the odds. We're not being like at the beginning of the debates when we had 60 people watching or 40 people watching. We're not inundated with globe heads with logical fallacies anymore. We're in the position where we're absolutely annihilating you to the point where you want to claim, oh, well, the show's dying. Well, you can stick your head in the sand. It doesn't fuss me. There's always going to be another globe head who still thinks he lives on a globe just because you lot have lost interest. I couldn't care less. The show will still be here.
Yeah, but Nathan,
the only reason the show would end is because we've won and
Nathan,
our opponents have given up.
Nathan,
that's the only reason.
Basically, yeah. That's the way I view it. They don't have any
I'll
comeback.
say that you're missing the point. I'll say that what I'm asking you, Nathan, is do you feel special? Do you enjoy the attention of being special in that you're on this side of the fence?
No, the attention we get is not positive attention.
Correct. I don't know why you would think that this is some kind of perceived positive and why he thinks that this will be a motivating factor for me to be on this side. And it's simple. The only reason why I'm on this side is because you morons can't prove the things that you claim are true and believe that are true. But when it comes to it, when you ask for the proof, I mean, let's remind people, right? The Cavendish experiment, for example, is cited as being the proof of gravity. But when you read the paper, it says that the amount that was attributable to gravity was 1/50 millionth of the object's mass. And you're telling me that some bloke in a shed was able to manipulate that 1/50 millionth of the mass that represents the gravity? Yet you all preach it as though it's absolute gospel. It's complete and utter garbage.
Yeah, I enjoy not being a sheep that is forced to believe that, because that's my
got a troll, got a troll. Hold on, we've got Martin jumping in and jumping out.
Yeah, I'm hoping Alvin's got my dog's doing turbo skid for some reason. Stop it.
Where is he? Martin Dust.
Do you want to see invisible? Do you want to see invisible boat, Nathan? This is the first time that I'll have ever showed this.
No, yeah. I want to get an answer. I want to know whether anybody on the panel thinks that does anybody feel as though they like the attention of being special and against the odds?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so Arwin, maybe. What about you, Ranty? Do you feel special? Do you enjoy the attention of feeling special?
No.
Neither do I. So what about Nathan? Can you answer the question?
I mean, I generally feel special. But if you want to relate that specifically to Flat Earth making me feel special, I'm going to say no.
No, not in that sense. But for me, it is typically in my lane to pick an unusual opposite position in relating to other people's choices in the matter.
You know what? I completely accept that, Arwin.
Why you do that, Arwin?
It's in my nature. I was born with it. I was born a rebel, and yeah, I don't know why. It's really annoying, though. It is almost compulsive, but I have a theory about it, and that is that if you choose an opposite position of the other people, then your frequency will be separated from them, allowing you to basically absorb the energy of those specific frequencies just for yourself, while the others have to share those frequencies.
What a load
That's
of
my
bollocks.
theory on it. I'm just very hungry, spiritually.
What if I say gravity is an aberration? Are you gonna contradict that?
Say you would know what the hell you're talking about.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go against it.
Doesn't take away from the fact. You don't
No,
even
the
know
point he's
why
making,
I
Arwin,
think
is
it's an
that
aberration.
what he's saying is that if he says the one thing, if you're a rebel, then by that nature you disagree with it, because sometimes you like to disagree with the claim.
No, I don't create oppositions that are pointless. I only do it when everyone else doesn't want to do it for the wrong reason. And there's a lot of these choices being made by people all the time, and most of them don't even realize it.
So nobody feels special apart from Arwin.
I mean, we can do an acid test if you want.
Not really.
I personally just feel I feel good that I don't have to be forced to believe bullshit because it's in a book, because somebody with a white coat told me that that's how the world works. That's my thing. I don't enjoy being a flat earther with people, you know. I mean, I've never cared about people insulting me or anything like that. I don't, you know, I'm a grown man. I don't care about that. But just the closed-mindedness of the people who are on the ball side, who just don't want to open their minds to this stuff. Yeah, I'm glad to not be associated with that, because that's just nonsensical.
Aren't you also glad you're not being fooled?
Yeah.
Because if you
Anymore,
weren't,
yeah.
then yeah, we'd be subjected to this crazy religion that is manipulating us and trying to steer the collective destiny. A lot of people
Yeah.
believe that we're going to space, and that matters for the way we see the world. So,
Hey Larry, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello, good to have you.
Morning, Larry.
Hey, Larry, did you get me an answer, mate? What's the diameter of the Earth?
Oh, so you wanna go there now?
No, I just thought I'd ask because I asked you about 2 weeks ago. I thought you might have the answer
I
by
asked
now.
you about circumference as well.
So could you provide that for us, please?
Well, if you don't know how Google works, I can teach you.
Just give us the answer. Do you know the answer to the circumference of the Earth yet or not? Just give us the answer right now. What's the number?
I can answer that if you answer whether you know how Google works or not.
Just give me the number without.
So do you know how Google works?
Yes, we do.
You don't know the number, do you? Still, you haven't looked it up.
I didn't look it up. I didn't know that
So
was
why are you
5
here
years
then?
ago.
Why are you here, dude?
Creep.
This is like Paul Voigt with his molten iron core. You can't come on unless you get your answer, and you still haven't got your answer.
Why? Do you know? Like, do you realize how silly this point is? I already owned Arwin's ass on this bloody damn same point.
Listen, you don't even own a wallet, let alone Arwin's ass.
I did actually. That's why he's triggered about me.
I don't think he's triggered about you. I think he thinks you're a dick.
Well, that's being triggered, so
Yeah, no need.
That proves my point.
No need.
Laurie, trust me, nobody here is triggered by you.
Larry.
So you wanna hear how I owned Arwin's ass?
Yeah, go on. Let's see.
Yeah, I would love to hear that.
Larry, if you want
I
to
basically
Christianity, it's helpful if you study the first.
Eric, hold on. I want to
basically
hear how
asked
he owned
him
Arwen.
how his own model works, and I asked him because he says the moon is not physical. I asked him questions about the luminosity and all kinds of things about the moon. He didn't know.
Okay, how far is
So
it? to the moon?
basically, if he doesn't know the details to his own model,
How far
following
is it to
your own standards,
How
he's
far
a
is it to the
bullshitter
moon?
and he has no reason to speak or be in this panel because he
Lowry.
doesn't know his own model.
Lowry, how
Lowry,
far is
Do
it
you
to
follow
the
the
moon?
logic?
Lowry, how far is it to the moon?
Well, Arwin didn't know that either. So
So-
if you're gonna
But
follow
do
the
you know?
logic,
Do you know?
Arwin
is-
has no
is-
place on this panel.
Do you know how far away the moon is?
Do you know how far it is?
Yes, we do.
I don't.
You have
I know
no-
how
you
I
have
know how
no
much
model
it's told.
either. You don't know the figures either, and you don't even have a model. You had a model 3 years ago, but
Larry,
we debunked it,
what's the
and now
distance
you
to
have
the
no
moon?
model.
Laurie,
Yes.
based on your model, do you
It
know
doesn't
how
matter,
far away
mate.
the
It
moon
doesn't
is?
matter. You had a model, and you don't even have a model. So we are by default
Yeah.
stronger than you because we have a model.
What
What
does
does
your
your model
model
say?
say?
In any case,
Idiot.
what matters in this case is how the logic
But-
works.
Laurie, do you understand that you're in here defending a model?
By heart or not, that's not even logical. Do you realize that?
I didn't
Hang on,
hear
you
what you
brought
said at
the
the
moon
start.
up.
Nonsensical.
What's not
That's
logical?
actually a logical fallacy. Do you
What's a
realize
logical
that?
fallacy? Sorry, can you
It's
repeat
logical
it?
fallacy again.
Laurie, why is it that
Hold
you-
on,
why is
Anthony.
it you
Hold on,
criticise-
hold on. I didn't get to hear what he said. Everyone was rumpusing him. Can you repeat what's not logical? What's a logical fallacy? I didn't hear the beginning part.
Basically, if you're trying to debunk me by not knowing a figure by heart, that's a poisoning the well fallacy. You had shown
it's
so
not.
many times
You
on
just said it about Arwen.
That's not true.
actually. It's attacking my character based on some bullshit.
No, that's not poisoning the well. Poisoning the well is when you're not here, but you're due to come, and we tell everybody that you don't know the distance to the sun.
You don't know anything. You never give answers.
Just stop
to
rumpusing
anything,
him. He's
and
trying to
you
respond
are
to
making
Anthony.
up
Stop
shit
it.
that doesn't
Everyone,
make
shut
any
up.
sense.
Stop it. Arwen, hold on. Hold on.
not the
Everyone's
reason.
rumpusing him. He's not getting a chance to reply. You're scattergunning him with stuff. Anthony, if you can
Well, I
just...
think Arwen and Larry should debate it themselves because he came in attacking Arwen. I think
Agreed.
it should be them two.
Absolutely agreed.
Arwin, go ahead.
Arwin, this is your moment.
Get him, Arwin.
Arwin, this is your moment.
Find the irony that he comes in and criticises Arwin for not knowing the distance to the moon, yet he can't cite it himself.
Well, you cannot cite any of those figures either. Actually,
we can, mate. We all know the distance to the moon on your model.
Stop! Can you stop cutting him off?
I know he uses a model. I cannot attack
Lori,
him.
Chocolate. Hold on. Everyone shut up a second. Right, everyone stop. Everyone stop. Right, just because there's 10 of us doesn't mean that everybody gets to cut Lowry off. Even if he's making a fallacious claim, I still want to hear it.
Thank you. Basically, my point is, if you don't know any of the figures either, and you don't even have a model, you're by default in a weaker point. And anyway, you're using logical fallacies. That's not even a reasonable argument to make. A model falls or stands based on the logic it is based on. It doesn't stand or fall based on whether a random supporter of that model can quote any figure by heart.
Can I ask a question?
If you realize that,
sorry, I was going to the toilet.
Laurie, you said logic a few times. Are you using inductive reasoning logic or deductive?
That's a total red herring, so I'm not going to even answer that.
Okay, Anthony.
You need to learn how logical argument works.
It's not a red herring.
Right, Anthony, tell me the distance to the sun, mate.
93 million.
Anthony, tell me the distance
Hold on. No, stop. Right.
No, we're just proving a point that we actually know this stuff.
What? That's not the distance to the sun. That's just what the heliocentric model claims the distance to the sun is. And Larry's point, you're forcing me to side with Larry. I can't believe this. His point is whether or not he knows what the model does in his mind doesn't affect whether or not the model works or not. Now, the model itself is a reification fallacy. Who gives a crap whether or not he thinks it works and represents the world? But that's not his point. Whether or not he knows the ins and outs of his model isn't testing that model. That is a straw man. So Larry's right.
No, well, his straw man was saying that we don't know what his model is. He said that.
No,
he said,
that's not what he said.
We don't know it.
No,
he said, we don't
that's
know
not
it.
what he said. He said,
Yes,
whether or not I understand the details and intricacies and every single number and digit in the model doesn't affect whether or not the model's right or wrong. Now, I disagree with that in principle because it doesn't make a model right or wrong full stop. Because it's not. It's a reification fallacy. But that's not
Lowry.
That's not his
Lowry,
point. His point is him not knowing the number, him not knowing a number in the model doesn't prove anything about the model. You're attacking him, not the model. It means nothing.
All right. I'm not talking about that now. Larry, did you say that we didn't know your model? That we didn't know these answers? We didn't know the answer to the distance to the sun, the distance to the moon, circumference and diameter of the earth. Did you say that? That we didn't know this?
Shout out to Mind of God for the super chat. Thank you very much.
I don't know what I said by word.
Yes, you did say that.
What I meant was you don't know the figures by heart either. So
yeah, we do.
It's basically irrelevant what I said by word. That's what I meant.
Right. So that's when I was asking Anthony, did he know? And he was able to cite them. Same as anybody on this panel will be able to cite them, except you. And
can you cite them?
Side.
You claimed that, yes. So now I'm actually expecting you to cite them by heart, not looking them up by Google.
No, hang on.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, then 384,400 kilometers to the moon, 93 million miles to the sun, 40,075 kilometers is the circumference of the Earth. The diameter of the Earth is 12,700 and something kilometers, 12,742 kilometers, right? Is that good enough for you?
That's good enough. Now I expect everyone else to do the same because you said everyone knows the numbers by heart.
Yeah. So
all right. I'm going to make Larry's point for him. Right. No. Stop. I am going to make his point for him. I agree. I will confess I do not know all of the heliocentric numbers inside out and back to front. I could not recite them like Ranty has just done. Just to make Larry's point correct. Yes, absolutely right. I confess. I do not know those numbers off by heart.
Yes, and that's a silly point to go.
No, I wouldn't
expect any of you to give those numbers by heart because it's irrelevant. It's not a reasonable point. Like I said, a
wouldn't
model
expect it,
doesn't
Lori,
stand
but
or
some of us
fall
actually
whether you know
care
the
about
numbers
whether
by
the
heart.
flat or not.
Can I make a point real quick?
Go ahead, Travis.
Laurie, I don't believe that's the issue that we're trying to bring up. So I hear this a lot. When we ask questions, it's not that we don't know the answer. It's that we want to be able to hear what you know, and then we want to be able to interact with what you know. So it's not that we're saying you have to know the numbers. So let me say this, for instance. If I say to you, what's the distance to the sun? And you say, it's X. The next question we're going to say is, how do you know that? That's the point of our question. It's not that you know everything about the model. It's that you know anything about the model. How do you know that the distance is X? That's where we're going with our question.
If that was where you're going with the question, you would have followed before with saying, how do you know? But you didn't do that.
But
That
you don't
proves
even
that you
answer
were
the
actually
question,
not
Lori.
trying
That's
to
the
do that.
problem.
Laurie,
Hold on one second. Just one second. Just one second.
This is what happens in normal conversation. You begin with one point and then you move to the next point. So we're establishing what you know, and then we're going to ask a question about that. So think back to what hold on. Go back to the shows that we've had with you. Go back to the shows that we had with you. The minute we say, what is this? You say, that's irrelevant. And you don't even have a conversation. You shut it down at the question. So don't throw it back on us and say it's our fault that we didn't start with how do you know? It's not our fault. We're asking a question and then we're able to respond to that with a follow-up.
You know full well what your motivations were. Your own motivations were to attack my character because I didn't know them. We can go back and watch how the hangout went.
Just let him respond. He's had 5 seconds. Stop, Anthony. He's had 5 seconds to respond.
Yeah, but he's talking garbage.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
And anyway, Nathan already kind of conceded my point, and I actually have to tip my hat for him for conceding my point, but I'm not seeing why this is a relevant point for us to discuss anymore.
At what point?
Relevant.
Well,
at what point, Laurie?
Hold on, Anthony. Did you not hear Travis's point, though, Larry? His point being that once we establish that X number is attributed to the distance of the sun, we can then pick apart why it's been attributed X value. Not that you understand the number by heart. I think that's Travis's point.
Yes.
Yes, I heard that point. But when we go back to the original hangout where I was asked that question, nobody followed that up.
That's
that
because
question.
you shut it down right away.
You have to answer the question.
We are astounded that you didn't know
Chill,
this.
everyone chill.
You're trying to double back and you're trying to craft a narrative here. When we go back to the original hangout, you were actually trying to attack my character, and you know that.
No,
you're now trying to reverse the narrative because you don't like being called out on it.
No, we're not attacking your character. We're pointing out to the audience.
You did actually do that in that hangout, and you know.
No, we're pointing out to the audience that you don't understand your point, your main points of your own model. That's what we're doing.
Oh, that would be attacking my character.
No, it's not. It's attacking
my point.
That has nothing to do with character, Laurie.
He's right. He's right again. I can't believe you guys are making me do this. So you're telling him what he's saying back to you. You are in agreement here. You're attacking him and his knowledge on the model. And he's saying, well, that's attacking me and my character. Him and his knowledge is his character. That's him, right?
Right.
Knowledge is not his character.
No, it's not the point, Nathan. It's like, if you've ever, right, there's been a film out, I can't remember what it's called, right? But some guy goes into a gym, and he asks to fight one of their best gym guys, right? Would you just let him straight in to fight the guy? Or would you ask him, does he have any experience? So you would ask him, does he have any experience? Has he boxed before? Has he done any training? Has he got anything that he can add to this guy? You know, is he going to go in there? Is he going to get slaughtered? So when this guy comes in and he says, we ask him, does he know his own model? Does he know the distance to the moon? Does he know the distance to the sun? You know, we're clarifying where he is on his own level, you know, where he is with his knowledge base. When he comes in and he just talks out of his backside and he's just blowing air because he doesn't know anything, this is when we realize we're talking to somebody who has he's walked into the lion's den here and he hasn't got a clue about his own model. And this is what we're pointing out.
Exactly.
I agree completely.
Exactly.
So
you're
like basically, doubling down that I should have
keep saying these words. Keep saying these words. You just keep going in circles. Okay, put it in another context. That would be like somebody that wants to preach that the Bible is true and yet has never read it and doesn't know the verses. Would that make sense? The answer is no.
So you're basically doubling down and saying I should have known the numbers by heart anyway.
Eric.
Well, Arwin doesn't know.
Hold on, Eric. Eric, just
Arwin
let him
doesn't know
respond.
his model by heart
Well,
either.
I'd love to attack you for being a
for the love of
hypocrite,
God,
because you demand
stop!
that we
Everyone
know
stop!
everything.
Everyone stop! Right.
No,
hold on,
Yeah,
hold on.
you
I'm
do.
backing you up, Larry. Just bear with me. It's 1 against 9. You need to let him respond.
I'll go on mute for a minute.
It's not that anybody needs to go on mute. It's just if 5 people all want a piece of him, he's never going to get heard. And at the moment, I mean, Ranty, you just gave the most concise explanation ever for what the point is. And by siding with Larry, you've done that. And I'm chuffed to bits. But ultimately speaking, if we can't hear his points, we can't pick him apart.
Well, he's mad that we're attacking his character for some reason.
I'm actually not mad at that. I'm mad that you're using logical fallacies, because actually attacking someone's character is a logical fallacy.
He's applying a psychological technique where we are always wrong. No matter what we say, you immediately jump to an opposite conclusion.
Look, Arwin,
no,
I didn't. No, I'm just holding your feet to the
you're
fire.
Wrong about it. No matter what we say, we're always wrong.
I cannot help
You're
that.
playing a psychological game with us.
Yeah, this game.
And I'm sick of you.
That's not actually
You're a
correct.
sociopath. I think
That's
you
not
have no
actually
conscience whatsoever. You're just messing with us, and you think it's funny.
Look,
you don't see us as.
I don't care if you don't like me, but that's basically
No, I don't
irrelevant
like your
to this
behavior.
conversation.
I don't like what you do. That's why I don't
fine. We
Can
heard that, Arwin.
Can I ask a simple question, Roy?
Go ahead.
Okay, so if you want to come in here and have a conversation, let's just say about the distance of the sun, right? How could you have a conversation about the distance of the sun if you don't know the distance of the sun in your model?
I wasn't there, but when you said okay.
Did you hear me? I know it's a little loud over here. I'm at work.
Yes. That's not actually like the discussion should be about how the model works and whether it works.
Right, but of course, if you're having the conversation about a particular model, you should know the parameters of that model.
None of us know all the parameters of any of the models by heart. So actually figuring out things on the fly is actually how discussions like this would work.
Let me have a couple of minutes with Laurie, please. Laurie, distance to the sun. Do you actually know the distance to the sun, yes or no?
93 million miles or something like that.
Right. So how do you know that distance to the sun?
I basically looked it up, but I have also looked, roughly speaking, up how we would know that.
Right, and how do we know that?
Basically, it gets complicated, so I haven't looked.
You don't know. You just believe.
Look, you could actually let me finish my point here.
Well, you just did. You said that you don't know.
I was going to continue, but you had to shut me down.
Okay,
that's okay. If you want to play that game, that's fine by me.
It's not playing a game. I thought the same. Hold on, Larry, hold on, Chocolate. I thought the same. So you were like, well, I don't know. So that's why I didn't stop him from interrupting you. But if there's more, fair enough. Go ahead.
Basically, how they calculated it, they have looked at how the planets work, and they figured out that all the planets are in, like, they have to be certain distances. Like, they figured out the ratios of the distances of the planets, and if they can find out distance to one planet, they can then find all the distances to the sun.
Okay.
And
so, where's the evidence that supports the assertion you've just made?
Well, you can go and look it up. I looked it up.
Oh,
I don't have any sources to give here.
Right. Well, this is a bit of a problem because I've got a source and I'm going to take you through it. And what I'm not going to allow you to do is play the victim card at the end of it. I'm going to show you evidence, right? And then I'm going to laugh at the evidence and I'm going to show you why I'm going to laugh at it. And that's not attacking your character. But this is attacking some evidence, and I'm going to point out that you've not got any evidence, and then we're going to conclude the point by saying what the conclusion is. Is that okay? Or is that a bit unfair?
That actually is kind of unfair, because you cannot expect anyone to have you can take on any model a question that a person cannot answer. But a person not being able to answer a random question on the fly doesn't necessarily mean the model is wrong. But you can still go ahead and make your point.
All right, so Nathan, would you mind presenting my screen? And Laurie, would you mind clicking my thing at the bottom, please, so that you can see my white screen?
Have you got it, Larry?
Yep.
Yeah,
okay, so this is a document from NASA themselves, right? It's if you were to copy and paste these into Google, you'll find it easily. I'll just move the citation out of the way so I can concentrate on the point that I'm going to make. Basically, this is about the distance to the sun according to the actual history of. And now the current version of this evidence is to do with radar pings. They bounce radar pings to and from Venus, apparently. I haven't been able to validate that as true, even though I found a lot of information about it. That I haven't found the evidence that proves that this is actually true, because the evidence that they cite, basically they didn't agree. The scientists couldn't agree that they were looking at ping data. And I had to conclude that there was no ping data, because unless all the scientists accepted that there was ping data, I couldn't find the part that proves that was credible enough for me to conclude that there was ping data, because they didn't agree that what they were looking at was actually a reflected ping from Venus. Anyway, I digress. This is about the history of the how they got the rough approximation, and it says, in 1656, Christian Huygens, living in Paris, had determined the shape of Saturn and its rings with the aid of a superior telescope and his own analytical skills. In other words, he interpreted it. Cassini's discovery, forget that. Huygens wanted to give the sizes of these objects relative to the size of the Earth, right? Not actual sizes, relative to the size of the Earth. He knew the relative distances of the planets. That's the application of Kepler's third law on interplanetary motion. They know the ratios. They know the times, and when they think these things happen, they understand the ratio. But check this, he says, but in order to convert his angular measurements into Earth diameters, he needed to find the distance from the Earth to the Sun in Earth diameters. Huygens solved this problem with an assumption. Now, I'm going to ask you, Laurie, do you think it's okay to solve a problem with an assumption, or do you think it's okay to solve a problem with proof?
It's okay to solve a problem with an assumption.
Why is that?
Because we actually created, for example, the atomic model doing that way, and we also created quantum mechanics doing things that way.
Okay, so let's see what the assumption is, and we'll see what you think. If Huygens supposed that the planet Venus had been the same size as Earth, he could then calculate the distance in Earth diameters from his measurement of its angular size. Because you need to know you need to know the size to be able to calculate its distance. You need to know its distance to calculate the size. So if you assume that it's the same size as Earth, then you can make your calculations. What if it's not the same size as the Earth? What does that mean to his calculation?
I was actually thinking about something else. Sorry.
Just
okay,
zoning out while Anthony's presenting to you.
It's okay. We'll do it again. It's fine.
It's okay,
we've got all
just
day.
repeat it. No worries.
If he supposed that the planet Venus was the same size as Earth, he could then calculate the distance in Earth diameters from his measurement of its angular size. Well, what if Venus is not the same size as Earth? What does that mean?
I would assume they would then later on check it, how that works. So
right.
That,
so
that's not being addressed in the
how would you check
tracing
it
here.
Hold on, Larry. Sorry, that's not what the citation has, though. If you have
but that not being within that citation doesn't.
I know,
mean
but
it didn't
if
happen
you're
that way.
you seem to be building up a little straw man against his point, which is to say, well, there may be something out there. Well, I don't care. Do you have that to hand?
Well, that's irrelevant, actually.
Well, no, that's your claim. Not irrelevant. If you want to back what you've just said, then go ahead, do it now. If not, we'll move on. And essentially ignore that you claim they could have done it in future, and you would assume a further assumption, I'll add, that they would have done that. Let's not worry about what you might assume they've done, and let's worry about the assumption being pointed out that's taking place on screen right now. Let's worry about that. The thing we have a reference for, as opposed to your assumptions, which I couldn't give a crap about.
That's not actually how a reasonable debate would work. In this
Look,
case,
don't tell me about reasonable. I'll ask again. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Do you have a citation or a reference to back what you have just said about them actually measuring Venus or not? Closed question.
To be honest,
there is a fundamental problem with how you approach debates like this. Like, you put people on the spot and then you expect them to have answers to random questions that they haven't faced before.
Yeah, that's a debate. You have to think on your feet, mate. Yes, you earlier stated to the audience that that's part of debate, and not having the information to hand is part of the process. That's what you claimed. Now you're claiming the complete opposite. So I'll ask a third time, Larry. You're starting to piss me off. Right, it's a very simple question. Do you actually have evidence to back that assertion that you have already claimed you're assuming, or not?
My point here being, I could probably debunk that whole argument.
Oh, I couldn't give a crap what you could probably. Do you have a citation or evidence to back it, or not? You're really starting to wind me up. You're starting to piss me off.
Then you claim the argument is not reasonable because you don't give time to do that.
I've asked a simple question. I don't care about what you think you might be able to debunk in future. Do you have that to cite here now or not? If you don't, we can move on with Anthony's point.
I don't have it at the moment.
Fine.
Thank you.
God.
Jesus.
Okay, so back to the point. My question that you've not answered is, based on what this says, it says, if he supposed that Venus was the same size as Earth, he could calculate the distance in Earth diameters from his measurement of its angular size. My question is really closed and specific. What if Venus is not the same size as Earth? What does that do to his maths?
What we should actually do in this case is to check whether they check the size of the Venus later. You haven't done that and I haven't done that, so that leaves us with an open question we would need to research further.
Really? Well, you can worry about that. Okay, noted. Once the show ends, Larry, go and do some busy work and see what you can come up with. We have asked these questions on literally hundreds of shows on the opening, so let's not concern ourselves with your ignorance of those questions that we ask and the research. I haven't finished. Let's not concern ourselves with what could be, might be, could possibly be. Let's not worry about that. After the show's done, go away and see if you can back some of these ifs and maybes that you are postulating. But for now, let's worry about the people who have done research, that can cite things. At the moment, that's Anthony. So your argument that we could possibly in the future debunk this doesn't carry very much weight. Okay, Larry?
So basically you're saying you don't have to do research even though you...
You're saying I don't have to debunk anything. I can just claim that I could debunk it in the future. That is garbage.
You did not know the answer to this
I don't
question,
care
yet
that
you're
you
saying
think
don't
you
need
might
to
be
do-
able to debunk this in future. I couldn't give a crap. If you can debunk it on the spot, that's great. While we're arguing, you could go away and Google it. Do you know how to use Google?
Why are you saying you don't need to do the research?
Yeah, this
when
was
it
your
an
argument.
open
So I'm
question
sick of
for
hearing
all
you.
us?
I want you to now shut your mouth so Anthony can continue with his point, with the research he has done that you haven't. It's been made clear by Ranty that that's the point in asking you about some of the information you don't have. We do, so shut up and listen. If you want to go and do some busy work afterwards, you can.
So my question that you still haven't answered, and I am going to push you for an answer, is not to debunk the question, it's to answer the question. My question is, what if the assumption that Venus is the same size as Earth turns out not to be the same size as Earth? If Venus isn't the same size as Earth, then what does it do to his maths if he's wrong?
Can you prove that Venus isn't the same size?
That's not the point. Right. He's like, I'll ask it again, because I'm about to round out for a break, Larry. Just annoying me. He's asking a very simple question. If his assumption is wrong, what does that do to the maths?
If, but you haven't proven it's wrong.
You haven't proven it's right. It's there in black and white. It's a bloody assumption, you stupid moron. It's
But
not
you
proven.
didn't back up-
Listen
you
to me,
didn't back
dumbass.
up your claim
Listen,
that they
dumbass. It's not saying he has a proven fact here. The point that Anthony's making is it is an assumption, you stupid moron.
Well, I'm asking him what
basically-
happens. I'm asking him what
basically-
happens if his assumption is incorrect.
I'll answer it. Then his equations and everything else that follows is incorrect.
Correct. Well done, Ranty. You can have the cigar. Laurie, do you disagree with Ranty?
No.
Right. So that's
Excellent. So with that, I'll say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then smash the dislike button, then smash it again. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!